as if God has your name on a celestial calendar on a certain day, date, and time when you're going to go, and there isn't a hell of a lot you can do about it.
Well, of course, God's omniscient. He knows everything. He knows the future and the past.
Sure.
And
well, this always bothered me because I never bought into fatalism because I wasn't raised in a religious type of thinking. And so whenever somebody would say that, when it's my time to go, it's my time to go, I would say, well, Bill, great. Next time you get in a firefight, just stand up and wave and see what happens. It never happened.
It seems as though that the fatalism philosophy that you have, even though it's not very well thought out among military people in a firefight, is that they presume that somebody more powerful than them knows when they're going to die. And it means that you probably don't have a choice in the matter. Well, everybody has choices. I'm a motorcycle rider myself. And when I get in a serious situation out on the road, I always think of the two things. There are accidents that you can prevent from your reactions and your training as whatever you're doing, a military person or a motorcyclist. And there's accidents that you cannot get out of, no matter how good you train, no matter how good your reactions are. So this fatalistic approach that you're talking about says that, well, God told that driver to drive in front of me, and I'm going to run into it no matter what. You know, it doesn't have any. It belittles this life, I think, a little bit, because you're actually relying not on your own actions to predetermine your future.
Well, don't forget, we were young kids, 20, 19, 21. I think I was 22 when I was over there, and you know, you and I have the experience of a little gray and a little, you know, we have some life experiences and hopefully some wisdom. I don't fault soldiers for having that attitude because I didn't see them act on it. I didn't see them act recklessly. And so they had this fatalistic attitude as a defense mechanism, but when push came to shove, they were as quick to get out of the way or do what they had to do. In fact, I must say that when I first came into the infantry unit that I was in, I learned quickly that ours was a very well-disciplined, well-trained group. The senior guys in my squad and in my platoon, and we worked a lot in platoon-sized groups, which is 20 men out there all by ourselves. You feel a lot safer when you're with 100. Sometimes we even worked with just a squad out there all by ourselves, which is extremely dangerous because if you get attacked and there's only 7 of you out there, you're dead meat.
Well, how far away would be your safety factor? Would there be helicopters that could come, or
we always had
other squads close by? Or
they could be at times. They could be within a mile or two, and we always had the radio and access to communication.
Did you have many people pray before they ate, or did they pray on location in Vietnam?
There were guys that prayed, yeah. After firefight, they would pray, and I don't remember anybody praying routinely, but they probably did. I just took it for granted, and it's been 40 years and I've forgotten. But getting back to being well trained, the guys that trained me had been through the Tet Offensive a year earlier. It wasn't quite a year earlier, and so they had seen a lot of stuff. And we learned a lot of little things that I didn't learn in basic training, that I didn't learn in my advanced infantry training. A lot of little things that kept us alive, such as when you're going through the rice paddy, don't walk on the berms around the rice paddies because that's where they'll plant the mines. Now, of course, in the rainy season, you couldn't do that because they're all flooded with water. But a lot of little different things. I was an assistant machine gunner, and I worked with my machine gunner I carried a huge load of ammo. I looked like Pancho Villa with the strands of bullets strapped around me.
Looking then, huh?
And this big guy named Ken from Nebraska, a big farmer kid, he carried the M60 machine gun, which is very heavy. I carried it for 3 days. They took it away from me. We worked out a routine where if we got hit, I would be feeding the bullets into that thing, boom, like that. It took a little practice, and one day it paid off because we got ambushed, and we had that machine gun going. I was sitting next to him loading his machine gun, and then I'd be firing my weapon, and we really had our act together there, and it may have saved our life. You never know. But so, yeah, I was in a unit that had its act together despite the fatalistic attitude.
Well, have you talked to any current or younger Marines or Army or Navy or anybody who's come back from the current wars recently about their atheism?
I met at the Atheist convention a young man who bent my ear for quite a while, and he was thinking going into the military, and he was worried. His main concern wasn't combat. His main concern was ostracism from his fellow soldiers. And and he was asking me, was it bad when I was in the Army, and I said, no, we didn't have this Christian right thing going like you do now. And I really couldn't give him good advice because I have no experience with that sort of thing. In the Army, I didn't anyway.
Interesting. Well, there's another story I have. My nephew is in basic training. He's a Marine now, and he's in Afghanistan. He left last week.
Oh, wow.
And right now it's early September, so 2010. And he had the experience of either going to church on Sunday and relaxing. Of course, in basic training, you know, you're up, you know, I don't know, 20 hours a day, 18, 20 hours a day. They hardly give you any sleep,
Right.
and they just run your ass off, right? So you're deadbeat tired. Either go to church and have an hour and a half of rest, or you can clean the latrine or do this cleaning or something. And that to me is unconscionable, to have that type of forced choice that you might have. I don't know if those are the right words.
I think it's terrible, but that's the way they get around rules and laws, and that sort of thing goes on. I have one quick story. When I was in basic training at Fort Ord, California, there was a meningitis scare, and we were basically sequestered to our barracks the entire time of basic training, except Sunday. We had Sunday morning off, and we had the ability to go to church. Now, I must begin by saying that we were always hungry. We got our 3 meals a day in basic training, but because you're out exercising, humping all day and doing whatever you're doing, you're really hungry, you have a tremendous appetite, you need those calories. And so anybody that had a candy bar or a package from home with cookies, this was the gourmet beluga caviar. I mean, we couldn't wait to have
really
stuff
coveted
like that.
food then.
Well, I decided I would go to church one morning. And I heard that there was one of those, what you call garbage wagons, those trucks that serve food. And
Lunch
so I
wagons.
thought, well, maybe I'll go check that out. And we were accompanied to the church, but then the person that accompanied us, the sergeant or whoever, went away. So we were on our own. And so I went over to the garbage wagon and I loaded up with all kinds of goodies, candy bars. Remember those little Hostess pies? They probably